joining us for this momentous occasion. Today's ribbon-cutting event marks the beginning of our Therapeutic Stabilization Center, a building that will serve the needs of youth for many years to come. This is an exciting time for the Village Network and our local community, and we are all so glad to have you here to celebrate this grand opening with us. Now I'll invite the Village Network's President and CEO, Rich Graziano, to share more about the new facility and how it will meet the needs of youth in Wayne and Holmes counties.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thrilled to see such a packed house. I'll try to get through this stuff pretty quick so you guys can get to the tours, which is, I'm sure, the important part of the day here. So currently, right now, we're seeing about 23,000 youth in the state of Ohio that fall victim to some type of abuse or neglect. And about 13,000 kids a year in the state are being pulled out of their home and that they're being treated in out-of-home care. We're also seeing an increase in the opioid epidemic across the state as well. So there is a need for us to really step up to the plate and do something to kind of try to help these kids out. And I do think that programs like this, they're cutting edge, they're state of the art, and these are the type of things that we need to do to help youth in the state and all around the country. So just a little background on the building. This is the first building of its kind in Wayne and Holmes County. It's a 24/7 facility, much like the residential facilities that we run, but it has increased care around the clock. So increased staffing levels. It has medical care as well around the clock. So it's the ability for the facility to treat increased trauma in the youth, and that's what we're seeing. It's there. It's something that the residential facilities do not have at the current time. It allows us to immediately intervene with the families and assess the children appropriately. And then it also gives us the ability to get them into the correct services down the road and also start to plan for long-time services for the kids as well. And I'm really excited not only for what it means for the kids who will be coming directly into the facility, but I'm also excited what it means for children that we already have in our existing facilities and also for children that we have in some of the other facilities that are in Wayne and Holmes County. The way we see the building working out is that this is a place where kids who are already in placement, when they're struggling and having a hard time, instead of them being moved from those placements into some type of prison or detention, they can come here to this facility, they can be assessed, they can be stabilized for a short period of time, 14 to 21 days, and then the key would be to take the kids and move them back into the original placement with their organization or hopefully back home. And I think that's really where the key to the facility lies, is that we're going to be trying to do our best to keep kids in the facility and continue for short-term placements. We don't want 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-old kids in residential placements the way they used to be for 300-plus days. The key is to get them in, get these kids stabilized, and get them back out into the community where they can be treated appropriately and live the life of a kid the way it should be. I would like to thank everybody. I have a long list of thank yous, so I want to get to that now because there's a ton of people that were involved in this process that made it possible, and the building would not be here if it wasn't for them. I want to start by thanking the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Wayne and Holmes County, and I want to thank Judy especially for having faith in the village to pull this project off and operate it. So without her support, this definitely would not have happened. She definitely got it kicked off. I would also like to thank my board members. If you're here, just throw your hands up. I know I have a couple of board members in the room. Our board, they supported the project from day one. They really are vested in treatment for the youth around the state, and they really know what it takes to treat our youth appropriately. And without their approval on this project, so the resources that we had to put into it, this building would not have went up. So I thank them. I also want to thank all the Village Network community investors as well. We have a long list of community investors. If you look back on the board over by the kitchen, those are just some of the organizations that have directly supported this program and support the Village Network on a yearly basis. There are a couple of individuals too, individual corporations that have stepped up specifically for this project. I have John and Susan Kinkoff, who run Out and Child Group, insurance agency here in town. They actually were our first investors that contributed to donating money for one of the bedrooms for the kids. So we're getting individual donors to sponsor each one of the rooms here. They were the first ones to step up and do that, so I'd like to thank them. I'd also like to thank United Titanium. I see Don is in the back representing. Mike Rader and United Titanium were the lead sponsors in the building. They gave the initial lead gift for the facility, so I want to thank Mike and United Titanium's ongoing support for the village throughout all the years, and specifically for this project as well, so thank you, Don. We also have John Crum here as well. John came in, and we had John and the Seaman Corporation, dating back to Dick Seaman. They've been long-lasting sponsors of the village as well. For this project in particular, Seaman Corporation made another large lead gift for the facility as well, which also made it a possibility on our end for the financing of it. So I appreciate your investment in the village, John. Thank you. I also want to thank specifically two people who are sitting up front here, and Cheryl rolls her eyes as normal. The Shapiros. The Shapiros have been long-time investors, and they've been involved in the organization back to Steve's dad, who was a board member and a board president. Steve was also a board president, a board of trustees president, and both Cheryl and Steve have been board members. Steve is currently an emeritus member. I had lunch with them a little while back, and I was talking to Steve and Cheryl about assisting me and going out on visits to try to get additional funding for the building. And about halfway through the building, Steve went from helping me get money to saying, well, maybe I'll put out a match gift. Within 24 hours, Steve gets on the phone. I get a phone call from Steve. He calls and he says, you know something, Cheryl and I went home. We talked about this. We're going to do it. Do what? Like, you're going to help? I know, yeah, we're going to help me get money for the building. I appreciate it. It's like, no. He goes, we want to just fund the sensory integration room. So if you look here, we wanted to do a sensory integration room downstairs in one of our rooms. It's a real cutting-edge room. Dave Paxton will talk a little bit more about this in a little bit when he talks about the clinical programming, but they're very expensive to implement and get built. And we were looking for additional funding, so it's an additional expense to us. And Steve and Cheryl, as usual, stepped up and they decided to fund the entire building, the entire room being done. So just my appreciation for the Shapiros. They were the first people I met coming in. They kind of took me in their wings, got me used to Worcester. They would meet me for breakfast pretty much every week during the first year I was here to make sure I was happy and integrated well into the community. And they've truly been a blessing for me and my family. So on behalf of the Village Network and my family, I thank you for everything. Thank you. I also want to thank Weaver Commercial and Ron Wender. They did an awesome job. The building process was pretty much painless. They really took a personal interest in the building and making sure that everything that we did was perfect for the kids. So I really appreciate the time and the effort that they put in meeting with our staff just to make sure that the building was laid out perfect and everything just worked for the staff so they can deliver the appropriate services for the kids. So before I wrap up, I just want to say that I also would like to invite everyone here in the room to join the Shapiros and United Titanium and Seaman Corporation in helping us fund the building. There are lots of things that the kids are going to be getting coming in that we are going to need funding for. If you look towards the back of the building where, I didn't see John back there, so John Kinkoff is actually back there. Put your hands, John. Right next to him is the sign, and he's standing right by one of the rooms that he sponsored, and his wife sponsored. So we do have things like this around the room where you can get involved in helping buy items for the kids, anywhere down from $25 up to actually purchasing a room sponsorship for them as well.
For being here, I especially like I did at the groundbreaking, I want to thank Judy Witham Wood for your guidance. I think you approached us 4 years ago. We were talking about it this morning. 4 years ago, when she approached us and said, why don't we open a crisis center? And I said, what? And so she helped us shape the vision. You know, about that same time that she approached us, we began hearing stories across the state, including here in Wayne County, children who are in crisis, who are suicidal, who are dysregulated, engaging in high-risk dangerous behaviors. they cannot find a psychiatric bed for them, and spending 1, 2, 3, up to 4 days in emergency rooms, right over at a Worcester Community Hospital. That obviously isn't the right kind of services, and imagine that the resources that it's taking up in order to serve those children. This center will help alleviate that. So, a few more statistics to throw out to you that Rich had. In 2016, that was the last year that the Health and Human Services came out with the rates about abuse and neglect in our country. In 2016, 700,000 children in our country were deemed to have been abused and neglected. 700,000. The largest age group of those children, of those 700,000 children, are children under the age of 1 who are abused and neglected. 25% of the 700,000 children are abused and neglected. And that's been a trend that's been going on for the last 15 years. It isn't anything new. So the reason I bring that up is because, as we all know, and as here at the Village Network we've learned from Dr. Perry and the neurosequential model of therapeutics, that is the age when the brain is being shaped and formed. So those children who are under the age of 1, who are being abused and neglected, we see them in our facilities when they're 12, 15, 16, 17 years old. The judge sees them in their juvenile court when they're teenagers. So for that reason, what we've learned from the neurosequential model of therapeutics is many of our interventions will be the non-traditional mental health interventions. We will have yoga, we will have music therapy, we will have art therapy, we will have a sensory integration room. And of course, we will also have the traditional mental health interventions such as cognitive behavioral therapy and the traditional group therapy as well. But much of our service is going to be centered around helping the children develop an organized brain, stronger brains, so that they can cope and move on with their life. One of our biggest goals of the program is to engage the families of these children as soon as possible. It is our goal to have staffing. Say a child were to come in on Sunday evening, and it is our goal to try to have a staffing with the caseworkers, with the family, by Monday or Tuesday of that same week, to begin the discharge process. And whenever possible, our goal of the placement is going to be to get the child back to their families. So with that, I also want to, real quick, Judy, I also want to thank Doug Bailey from Ohio Department of Mental Health. OMAS now, excuse me. But part of this project was doable because of a grant from OMAS. They are paying a large portion of this building to be built. And for those of you who ever submitted an application to the state of Ohio, no offense, it's a big process.
True. So for many of us, this has been what we've needed for a long time. And I want to let you know that the Family and Children First of both Wayne and Holmes County, each one met with us, talked to us about concerns for youth at the board. And at that time, Robert Smedley and I met with relevant agencies, and then the village did step forward. So we're really pleased about that. I want to thank, as everybody has, certain partners. And I want you to know how helpful they've been. As they said, the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, the Capitol Bureau in particular, represented by Doug, who you'll hear from next, provided $500,000 through capital funds for this project. So the Mental Health and Recovery Board was able to go forth, get those funds for our community. And we really are grateful, because that makes the difference in often how you can start. We're lucky that we have wonderful donors here, but you can't always start from nothing. You need a base to start from. So I want to thank the Department of Mental Health and Addictions. Also, I want to thank the Board of Directors from the Mental Health and Recovery Board. That we have 18 members who serve there, and I can't do a thing without them. So both Gary Messner, please stand, and Dr. Russell are here.
The state, so this is me trying to be diplomatic. Okay. When I'm around the state, yeah, just say it, I know. When I go around the state, I am able to work with a lot of different mental health and addiction boards. We have like 50 of them. And it's fair to say that not all of them.
Very good.
Wait, don't cut it yet.
Don't cut it.
Take it off.
There you go.
All right, Brian, let me know.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Hey!